All right, let me tell you about what happened to me today, and then that's going to segue itself pretty quickly into the coaching insight that I wanted to share today. So, today, this morning, I had this plan. I had my gym bag packed. I was going to hit the gym right after work, not even do a lot, do like maybe walk 2 miles or something like that, nothing crazy or anything like that. And then my boss let me leave early for the day. And the first thought jammed into my head was, I'm not going to the gym. So I completely bailed on the gym, went and got a couple of groceries and stuff. And then I came home for the day. And that got me thinking about those times when, and it happens to every single person, and it happened to me today, and it happens to me often, is just not feeling motivated. You have a goal, you even have a strategy, you know you should take action, but there's like this heaviness inside you that makes it difficult to start wading through the mud of every single step of your goal, and you just start to lose a whole lot of motivation. Like you've got the desire, you know, you want the end goal, you see the end goal, you know what it looks like for you, you visualized it, but for the life of you, you just can't take that first step. And so not feeling motivated is a feeling that a lot of people go through every day. And I think with the upcoming New Year's resolutions that we're all going to start uh, sharing with each other, I think that it's very important to talk about this point, rather this feeling of not feeling motivated. Um, but here's the thing, like you got to remember, which is that motivation doesn't always come from willpower, right? That's not a thing. Sometimes your mind, your spirit, your body, your energy, you're just really overwhelmed, and staring down the barrel of this goal just immediately gets even more overwhelming. So you just find yourself stuck. Okay, that is not an uncommon feeling at all. You're not alone in that. And sometimes it's a real trigger for you, or should be a trigger for you to ask yourself, man, is now a good time for this goal? Or am I just kind of being lazy, right? And taking stock of what's going on at this moment in time. It's very, very important. Um, and sometimes, honestly, motivation doesn't come first. Sometimes it's action. Sometimes your motivation, your willpower will come from that very first step, which is that coaching insight for this post and for this talk really quickly is that coaching insight is that motivation will often follow action, not the other way around, right? So sometimes it is taking that first step, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant, is the thing that is the catalyst to get you moving forward. Even though you're not totally motivated, but the drive is there, the desire is there, but the drive and desire is for the goal, not the journey, right? So we have to take that first step. And sometimes that first step is going to push us forward into getting that goal or starting down that journey, right? Everybody is happy about the goal, but not necessarily happy about how they got to the goal, right? Because that's a struggle. It's often a struggle to get to that goal. So it's taking that first step and creating momentum, creating the motivation, creating further willpower from just action alone. So when I'm talking to folks about this, I've got some questions that I ask them. So the first question I ask is it's very simply just what's one tiny step you can take without even thinking about it, right? You don't have to think too hard. What's one thing that you can do right now, real quick, that can just be a win? It could be a check mark. It's like, okay, got it. That's one small thing that you can do. So ask yourself that question. What is one thing you could do, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, to get you moving in those in the direction in the taking the first steps? There's another thought that you need to think about is what's kind of an outdated, what's the word I'm looking for? An outdated expectation of your own productivity that maybe you can let go of, right? Maybe you used to be able to do a certain thing for a certain amount of time or whatever. Like maybe you used to be able to run 3 miles in under 30 minutes, right? And now that you can't, it kills your motivation. Well, maybe you're not as productive as you once were, right? And that's okay. That's okay. We have different levels of productivity that ebbs and flows as life itself ebbs and flows. So you can't think that you're always going to be as productive as you once were. So identifying that and recognizing, oh, okay, so that's a little bit outdated in expectation. Okay, cool. Then the step you take, even though maybe it's not 3 miles in 30 minutes, maybe it's 3 miles in 45 minutes. Maybe it's only 2 miles, right? But it doesn't seem as insignificant if you look at your expectation and manage it a little bit better, or your expectation of productivity and manage that expectation just a little bit better, right? So ask yourself that question: what's an outdated expectation of productivity that you can maybe stop thinking about, right? Also, you want to think more deeply about what is an emotion that might be hiding under your lack of motivation, right? So if you're lacking motivation, don't just stop with, oh man, I'm not motivated. Ask yourself, well, is the emotion that's hiding there? Why am I not as motivated as I once was, right? And you might reveal that the goal might not be something that you're as keen to do as you once were, and that's fine. Goals change, right? And like we said, the expectation of productivity changes as well. So maybe in asking yourself what expectation of productivity has changed, maybe your goal has changed. And the lack of motivation is actually a symptom of the reality that maybe that goal that I once had is not as relevant to me as it used to be. Or maybe it's honestly not as achievable as it once was. Before I got my knee surgery, I had a goal to run a marathon. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do the work. I don't want to go through the journey of getting the marathon. Sure, I would love to say that I'd run a marathon post knee surgery, but I don't want to do all the work that it takes to get there. So that's not a goal of mine anymore, right? So yeah, I'm not motivated to run as much as I used to be, because that's not my goal anymore, right? It's not something that fits within my lifestyle anymore. And that's okay. But you got to ask yourself that. What's the underlying emotion that might be kind of beneath what you see as a lack of motivation? All right. So here's what I want you to do in thinking through this coaching insight, which is to instead of trying to feel motivated and then do something, take an action first, and then think about, okay, wait a minute, I did this thing. Do I now feel motivated? Right? Has my motivation increased, even if it's a little bit? Right? So find something today or soon, a small thing, one small thing that you can do, and then instead of just doing it and marking the box and checking the box that I did that thing, do the thing, right? Take the action, no matter how seemingly insignificant you think it is. But before you check the box, think about it. Analyze, what do I have an increased amount of motivation right now? Do I feel accomplished by this small thing that I did? Right. And if the answer is yes, then I think maybe you're on the right track to um, uh, um, you know increasing your motivation, right? So long as you're taking those small actions, right? So just remember that momentum doesn't necessarily start with intensity. It starts with the permission to begin where you're at, right? So start where you're at. Um, ask those powerful questions, right, and get some good answers for those. And then give yourself permission to start where you're at. And sometimes those expectations of productivity are going to change, and even sometimes the what am I trying to say? The goal might be a little bit different than it once was, right? So yeah, give yourself a chance to think about your motivation and think about your goals differently and your expectations for your productivity. All right. Yeah. So don't blame me for not going to the gym today. All right. You guys have a great one.